Welcome
to Sort of the Story.
I'm Janey.
And I'm Max.
And this is the podcast where we tell each other stories, like fairy tales and folk tales and mythology and whatever the else we want.
Whatever the else.
You know why? Because we're grown.
Anything the else we want.
Anything else we want. You mother else's.
And podcast isn't for kids.
No, but also you are here. Well, we did it wrong.
This podcast isn't for kids. And also you are here unless you're a kid, in which case
You're not
better not
here.
Be. Get the hell out.
Shoo.
We say bad words and there are themes.
Yeah, and children hate themes.
It's true.
Unless the theme is TikTok or twerking.
Unless the theme is their cell phones. Their Snapchat.
Or Blue's Clues.
Vaping.
All kids want to talk about is vaping. It's 10:30 on a Saturday.
Woo-woo!
And
Party girls.
And we're both drinking extremely full glasses of water. So we are partying tonight.
The rest of the stories in this episode are going to be really interesting, but this is a really boring and funny story. I had a cup of water and I sat down for us to record and I drank like half of it, and then Janey was like,
it wasn't even half. It was like, there was...
I drank like a third of it.
Yeah. Really not a lot of water was missing.
And Janey was like, I'm going to go get a cup of water. And I was like, oh, can you top me off also? And she went and got water and then came back and my cup was the same amount full. And I was like, Janey, did you put more water in this? And she was like, yeah, that's just how much you fill them. And she showed me her cup, which was also that amount full.
But then I immediately realized that maybe I didn't put any water in, and I just subconsciously was just like, that's how much water should be in there.
Hey, Janey, can you go get yourself this exact amount of water?
It's like I compared the two. So then Max went and was like, I'm going to go top off my water. Do you want some? And then she filled them both to the brim so that it was inconvenient to drink. And that's sort of the story.
Wow, guys, what a great episode.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.
If you did, give us 5 stars.
Yeah, on Patreon, which you can join after Max tells you how.
What? You can't give us 5 stars on Patreon.
I felt like you were about to try to make me explain the Patreon, so I decided to just jump ahead whatever the fuck you were doing. You do it.
Well, I can be an adult and I can talk about this in an adult way.
I think you can.
First of all, please rate us 5 stars on whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. It's super helpful. Leave us a review.
But especially Apple Podcasts. And if after you give us 5 stars and you leave a review...
Excuse me, I think I'm doing this. So if you can not, that would be great.
Fine.
If you do enjoy this and you're thinking, I want some more, listen, you greedy little baby. You can get what you get and you don't get upset.
Join the Patreon.
You can join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes for this episode and every episode. For $3 a month, you can join our Discord, which is just a fun community of people who hang out with us. It's very fun and cool.
You also get access to our book club.
Yeah.
Because we forgot to make that a tiered level, so you get it.
You get it.
Woo! You get what you get, and you don't take a fit. And that's true, because they are infrequent and hard.
Yep. We have to read a whole book about it.
Awful. Join it.
So you can join us on Discord by joining the Patreon at the $3 per month tier. At that point, also, you get, first access to updates, and we've got a bunch of really cool stuff coming out that we'll be able to talk about first on the Discord. So join us for that at $3 a month, or for $7 a month, you can get a whole extra episode. We record a full-length, regular episode every month, drops at the beginning of the month, and our $7 patrons get access to that episode.
They're also a little bit longer than the regular episodes, because we do question and answers at the end, and they're pretty great. I've been having a great time with them.
Yeah, they're pretty goddamn good.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that, and you also get access to the back catalog of bonus episodes, which we just recorded episode number 7.
Do you remember the story that you told?
Nope.
You told the story of Gerald the coward who got punished. And
like a little bitch.
And it's so funny. I finished editing it today, and I was sitting here alone crying, laughing. Guys, there's gonna be some fucking quotes, and you're not gonna understand them unless you're there, but these are gonna be lasting fucking quotes. I'm making merch for it, I've decided. These have been cracking me up. And I told a story called A Tale of Tantlerwald, which is a spooky, mythical world that should be a whole mythology in its own, and it's amazing.
Yes.
So there's like a weird little Mithrigan action going on that's very scary.
Mithrigan, the film Megan, but the E is replaced with a 3, and it's about a robot girl.
I feel like if you don't pronounce it Mithrigan when you see the poster, you're not listening to this podcast. I feel like our audience exclusively says Mithrigan.
For sure.
They also exclusively say Vavitch.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, that's the Patreon. Max,
yeah.
you did a great job.
Thanks.
I interrupted constantly.
Yeah. Really unprofessional.
Well, it's 10:30, so.
Business hours are over.
Yeah.
All right, Janey, do you want me to tell you a story?
I would fucking love it.
Cool. Put your story listening to pants on then.
My story listening to pants? I have to wear 2 pairs of pants to listen to your story?
Yes.
Is it because I'm going to pee through them?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a very spooky story?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm going to go get changed, and then we'll be right back.
All right, Janey.
Okay, Max.
Story I got for you today is called La Diablesse.
The Diablesse.
Yes, correct.
It's just Satan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Satan.
Satine.
Oh. La Diablesse. This story is from Caribbean Folktales by Wendy Shearer. Wendy Shearer is a professional storyteller who specializes in Caribbean stories. I watched a couple of her videos on YouTube of her telling stories, and she is an incredible storyteller. So please look up her stuff. I'll remember to link to her YouTube channel in the show notes for this episode.
Lovely. But
she is unbelievably cool. And this book, I picked it up when I was being a third wheel on a date that Janey went on. I picked up this book, and it is so, so good. It is written more narratively than a lot of the books that we read of folktales. And the writing is gorgeous.
Do you think he still listens to the podcast? Because he did listen to a couple episodes to, like, prepare for our dates. Hello!
I think he does, and he probably picks it apart.
If you do, hello, Dominic. You were lovely. Sorry, Max was so fucking awkward. He came on our date.
I was asked to attend. But this book is great. The writing is incredible, and I am going to be just straight up reading some quotes from this because it is so goddamn cool. This is also the first story in the book, because I opened the book and the first story was called La Diablesse, and I was like, well, I gotta know about that. And then it was perfect. So I haven't actually read any of the other stories in this book, but this story is very, very cool. So highly, highly recommend this book, Caribbean Folktales by Wendy Shearer.
The cover is so cool. It has a sexy lady with a full-on snake lower half sitting on a palm tree with a big spider. And there's a tiger, and there's also a turtle, and there's a plane coming in through a storm, and it's all in a nice ocean. This is cool.
That's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on in this cover, and I'm a big fan.
Also, that tiger looks like Leaf.
My cat looks like a tiger wearing pajamas, and there's no other way to describe him. He looks like, in Calvin and Hobbes, he looks like Hobbes.
Mm-hmm. But like...
Or Calvin? Which one's the tiger?
Hobbes.
Okay.
Okay. La Diablesse from Caribbean Folktales by Wendy Shearer. This story comes from Martinique.
Okay.
The story opens with a description of what it is like in Martinique. Like, just beautiful greenery and, like, an abundance of nature and like heat and the ocean and everything. And then I'm just going to read this chunk of the first paragraph out loud because it's fucking great. Okay. On this picturesque island, the mountains would erupt and lava would flow freely into valleys, burying everything in its wake. Hurricanes would rampage through villages, wiping out factories and ripping up trees. With all of these violent horrors lurking among the villagers, it might surprise you to know who they feared the most. La Diablesse.
Oh my god, I love her already.
I know, right? Oh, just a goddamn force of nature.
Okay, step on my neck, La Diablesse. You she-devil. Become the president. Thank you.
La Diablesse is sort of a story that goes around of a woman, a stranger that comes to town. And all you need to know is that she is a she-devil and that you should not follow her. You shouldn't trust strangers and go where they go. Right?
I mean, I disagree, but okay.
She is also described as having one of her feet is a hoof instead of like a human foot.
Makes her hotter.
Yeah, not into it. Yeah. Step on my throat with your hoof.
Stomp on my neck with your hoof foot. La Diablesse.
Oh, I can't read my own handwriting. That's fine.
You guys, we haven't been doing the bingo cards, but I think Get Horny for a She-Devil should be on it.
Hundo P.
Just any female monster character gonna get horny.
Yeah. Just, we have a lot of mommy monsters on this podcast.
Oh, so many mommy monsters.
One hot day, two young men, Kabenla and Eku, they are sitting outside of their bunkhouse. They're on lunch from the sugar factory, and so they're enjoying just a couple minutes outside relaxing. Eku feels uneasy. He feels very suddenly like the air is close, and it's everything just feels a little bit threatening, kind of, in that way of like, right before a storm when you just get that feeling of like, oh shit, like
there's a little more static in the air.
Yeah, and he's like, something has him on edge. And he turns to Kabenla and he's like, hey, something feels weird today. Do you feel weird? And Kabenla is like, Eku, I'm busy.
What?
And Eku follows where Kabenla's eyes are looking, and he sees that coming down the road towards them is a beautiful woman.
I'm busy looking at this lady.
Yes. He's like, I am busy.
I have other business to attend to, so you can stop talking to me now.
But Kabenla is looking at a beautiful woman who's walking down the road towards them. She is tall and very slender. She has on a broad-brimmed straw hat and a blouse and a very, very long, colorful skirt that swishes against the ground as she moves.
Okay.
And she's walking very quickly down the road. She is very, poised. Her movements are, she's wearing this, sort of stiff, heavy skirt and everything, so it almost looks like she's, floating.
Ooh.
And she's just moving quickly down the road. And Kabenla turns to Eku and is like, she's gorgeous. And Eku is like, yep, sure. Okay. She walks down the road and she walks past their house, does not stop. But she says to them, bonjour, monsieur. Just as she's walking, hello, good day.
Yeah. And
Kabenla says, bonjour, madame. And he gets up and he starts to walk with her.
Nope. You've become the villain of the tale. She's doing her own thing, buddy. Now I hope she eats your fucking face.
He gets up and walks with her, and she does not acknowledge him. And he says, you look as sweet as molasses. And
fucking go home. Oh.
And she does not say anything, does not look up.
And then he takes the hint, and he goes back, and he's like, I shouldn't bother women when they're clearly on a mission.
If only. She is accustomed to unwanted attention. There's a moment where she thinks to herself, she's like, there was probably a time when this was novel to me, but that is a long time past. And the line is, she had been naive before, but now she could exact her revenge.
Oh my God. Okay.
Kabenla says, I've never seen you before. Are you from around here? Where are you from? And she says, affairs of the chicken are not affairs of the goat. Mind your fucking business.
Which one is which? Which one does she think is better? Is she the chicken?
I think she's the chicken.
Okay. All right. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Okay.
Bold strategy, What?
Bull strategy cotton is, I think, a dodgeball reference, but it's also just a weird thing to compare yourself to a chicken.
Yeah.
I think it'd be like, the affairs of the swan. That's like a better animal. Or the affairs of the tiger. Or no affair of the goat. But like chicken is just like, a goat could kick the shit out of a chicken.
That's not true.
I think that's true.
They have those talons.
Goats.
Yep. She says, affairs of the chicken are not affairs of the goat. And she still does not look towards him. She just keeps walking on her path.
Yeah.
Cabenla's like, hey, why are you being so serious? Like, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. And she says, I am in mourning. I died long ago. And he's like, that's a weird joke. What a weird joke. You're super funny. And he's like, well, you know, like these roads can be dangerous. Like, why don't you let me walk with you to wherever you're going? And she like doesn't respond. And then she finally like turns and looks at him and says, before climbing up a tree, make sure you can climb down. So she's like, hey, are you sure you know what you're getting into? And he's like, ooh, sexy.
God, pretty girls really can't say anything.
Yeah.
And guys will just fucking ignore it.
And Cabenla is like, yeah, I can climb down trees real good. Super, super good. And so she continues walking at her very, you know, sort of rapid pace.
Yeah.
And he follows her and she takes a path up into the mountains. He is struggling to keep up with her, and it is this oppressively hot day. And especially as they're climbing higher and higher up the mountain, the air is getting thinner, and he feels like he's having like a trouble breathing because it's so humid and like, you know.
Yeah.
So he's like struggling to keep up with her. And meanwhile, she is like as crisp as a daisy, just like walking along quickly in front of him. And he's like, yep, woohoo, good stuff. Love it. And he's like, so like, what's your name anyways? And she's like, guess. And he's like, Emily. And she's like, no. And he's like, Sarah. She's like, no.
Casper. Melchior. Balthazar.
Rumpelstiltskin.
She's like, weird. But no.
Yeah, he's like, is it Marie? Is it like Juliet? He guesses a bunch of like common French names that would be used in like the Caribbean and everything. And she does not respond to any of them. So he can't guess, and he's like, all right, well, then I give up. Keep your secrets. He is like running out of breath as he's like struggling to keep up with her. Meanwhile, back in the village, Eku has seen his friend walk away, and he's like, this guy's always getting into trouble. So he's like, he's probably not even going to be back for the second shift of the day. Like, he's going to not show up to work, and then I'm going to have to work twice as hard, and then he's going to come back and be like, oh, you'll never believe how much fun I had. And so Echo goes back to work, and Cabenla does not show up.
Yeah.
And he's like, God, Cabenla didn't show up to work. And all the other guys that he works with are like, why not? And he's like, some lady, he like followed her down the road, and the guys are like, are you saying that you wouldn't rather hang out with a pretty lady than be at work? And Eku's like, no, that's not what never mind.
It's like there's no work ethic anymore. All kids want to do is talk about vaping and twerking and follow pretty ladies and up a mountain.
Barbie.
And Barbie.
And so they all kind of like tease him. They're like, oh, are you just jealous that she paid attention to him and not you? And Eku's like,
didn't.
But, you know, their shift ends and Eku heads back home, and he expects to see Cabenla like sitting outside of their bunkhouse that they kind of share.
Yeah.
And he says that he expects to see him sitting on the porch and drinking a cold beer, ready to tell him all about, you know, this escapade that he's had.
Yeah.
But he gets back and Cabenla is not there, and he goes into the house and he sees Cabenla is not inside either. He's concerned at this point because it's like dinner time, and the two of them always go to eat dinner together.
Yeah.
And he's like super hungry. So he's like, maybe he already left. Maybe he already went there. So he goes over to the kitchen area, and they're making conch stew. And he sits down and he eats, and he talks to all the other guys at the meal table. And he's like, have you guys seen Cabenla? And they're like, no. And he's like, he's been gone like since lunch. And they're like, he's a grown man. Why are you? What are you worried about? And he's like, it's just we always eat dinner together. And they're like,
oh. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you had a crush on Eku. Or Kabenla, whichever one is which.
Kabenla.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Kabenla. That's it.
Oh.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say earlier that conch soup is what you eat before you honk shoe. But I thought...
Oh, that's what all conked out means.
I thought that's... The time has passed and it's no longer relevant. I think I was right.
I still like it.
You got a conch soup to hunk shoe. You also got to know when to fold it.
You got to know when to hold them. Know when to hold them.
Know when to conch
eat conch stew. Know when to honk shoe.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it doesn't. So he asks everyone, he's like, has anyone seen Kabenla? Like, he's been missing for a couple of hours. And they're like, we haven't seen him. We don't know. And also, maybe you should just chill out and mind your business. But he finishes his food and Kabenla still hasn't shown up and nobody has seen him. And at this point, he's like worried. So he starts going around town and he talks to everyone that he sees. And he's like, hey, have you seen Kabenla? Like, last I saw, he was walking down the road with like a really beautiful woman going towards the mountains. Like, has anyone seen him since then? Yeah. And everyone's like, we haven't seen him. But like, big congrats to him. And he keeps going around. He's like, beautiful woman walking through town really quickly. Has anyone seen her? Has anyone seen Kabenla? Has anyone seen either of them? Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, no, and we don't know what you're talking about. Until he comes to an old man who has been liming the road for the whole day. And the old man overhears him talking to somebody else. And he's like, you say your friend walked into the mountains with a beautiful woman? And Eku's like, yeah, did you see him? And the old man is like, no, I didn't, but she sounds like La Diablesse, a she-devil who haunts these mountain roads. And if your friend left with her, you might never see him again. And Eku is immediately like, no, that's not what happened. And fuck you. And he's fine. And shut up.
Okay.
And Eku says, there's no way a Jumbi showed up in broad daylight. Jumbi is a term in Creole and in like Caribbean folklore. A Jumbi, it's kind of like equivalent to a yokai in Japan.
Like spirit.
It's like a spirit, devil, witch, ghost, etc. Usually bad, malicious, sometimes not. But the term Jumbi, also Mendo and Chongo and Duppy are all like the same term from different islands.
Mingo, Chombo, and Duppy sound like Teletubby names.
Mendo, Chongo, and Duppy. Another term that is used kind of interchangeably with the Jumbi and Duppy are kind of the more common ones. But the other term that is also used is zombie, which is...
Zombie.
Yeah, zombie. And a lot of times we have this idea of zombies as being like revenants, raised from the dead, etc. In Caribbean folklore, zombie is a much more broad term. A lot of times it means someone who has had their spirit taken from them and is like enthralled to something, or someone who is cursed, or someone who is like a witch, or someone who is it's basically the same kind of thing, but also occasionally carries the connotation of being like someone under the influence of magic. Okay. So zombie, Duppy,
Chongo,
Jumbi,
and Dipsy. And that laughing baby son.
So he says there's no way a Jumbi would show up in broad daylight. Like, that doesn't happen. They come at night and they're like sneaky. Like, this was just a woman walking down the road in the middle of the day. There's no way that she was anything evil. Yeah. And the old man says, don't be so sure, young man. Some terrors appear right beside us in the day. Ooh. And kind of shaken by this, Eku redoubles his search. Meanwhile, back up in the mountain, Kabenla is on the road, and he realizes that it is now so dark that he cannot see the woman in front of him. He's been kind of following her silhouette and, like, hyperventilating, trying to keep up with her. And so he's just been kind of following her, and he realizes he's getting further and further behind. And then he looks up and realizes that it has become dark. He was not paying attention, and it is now nighttime. And he can barely even see, like, his hand in front of his face. It's so dark.
Yeah.
And he calls out to her, and he says, "Where are you? I can't see you." Meanwhile, she is up ahead, and she thinks to herself, this is also a quote, "She used to wait until they pounced, when their appetite overcame their senses.
Ugh.
She could see it in their eyes. Now she didn't wait. She pounced first."
Ooh. She's like Eileen Wuornos.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she is up ahead, and she hears him calling, and he's like, "Where are you? I can't see you." And she knows that this is the moment that she's been waiting for.
Yeah.
She has, with her fast stride, she has gotten pretty far ahead of him, and she is still in this, like, forested mountain area. And she calls back to him, "Follow my voice." And she starts to sort of sing and sort of chant. And he, like, stumbles towards her in the dark, trying to follow her voice. Mm-hmm. But she says, Aquaba, medinde, ibon sam. And I wasn't able to find a translation for that. But she begins to sort of sing this song. Mm-hmm. And he stumbles towards her in the dark, tripping over trees and branches as he does so. And it sounds almost as though, like, her voice is reverberating in the darkness to the point where he's not completely sure where it's coming from. And he's just sort of stumbling blindly through the woods at night.
Like you're in, like, an auditory house of mirrors.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And the wind picks up as she chants, and this, like, biting cold wind coming in off the ocean just cuts through him to the bone. And he is suddenly no longer like, "Oh no, I might have lost this woman that I maybe had a chance with." And suddenly he realizes that he is in the forest in the dark. And he hears this chanting. And suddenly it is no longer the chanting of, like, a beautiful woman who he's trying to find. Mm-hmm. It is as though a spell has been broken, and he realizes that he is no longer enchanted by her. Yeah. He is terrified of her.
Good.
Good.
She literally gave him so many opportunities to stop being a fucking creep.
Yes.
Good.
He hears her voice, and she stops chanting, and he hears her sort of chuckle, and she says, "Are you scared?" And he is terrified. And he's, like, casting about in the darkness, and then he sees her appear as if from the darkness right in front of him. And she says, "Take my hand," and holds out her hand, and almost against his own will, he takes her hand, and her hand is ice cold, and her grip is like steel. And he takes her hand, and she says, "Vini, come." And then she continues walking in the mountain. He follows her, and they're passing through the trees. And at one moment, they pass through a clearing in the trees, and he sees her in front of him. She turns to look at him, and in this moonlight glow, he sees that her face has twisted and distorted into a grimace. Just, like, her whole face has changed. Her, like, beautiful dark eyes and everything are still staring out, but they are, like, emotionless and cold and full of hate. And her whole face has just transformed into the face of what you would picture for a she-devil. He sees her transform into this, like, visage, and he screams, and completely against his own intention, he, like, tries to let go of her hand and step back. And it is so dark, and he does not know where he is. And he steps back, and he finds his foot against a cliff's edge.
Yep.
And he pinwheels and tries to stop himself, but he falls off the cliff. The last little bit of the story. An empty cry came from his lips as he hit the rocks 2,000 feet below.
Ooh.
No one heard him but La Diablesse. There in the moonlight, you could see the imprint of her hoof mark in the dirt as she shuffled away. So, La Diablesse is a figure that this story is from Martinique. And this is also, I think this might be like an original telling by Wendy Shearer. But La Diablesse is a figure that has appeared in Caribbean folklore for a very, very long time. There are theories that she is descended of an African goddess of, like, love and revenge, basically. Yeah. But the legend goes, right? These things aren't mentioned in this story, but I was able to do some further research, which I have linked in the show notes below. According to the Wikipedia, the primary, like, origin story that is shared for La Diablesse is that she used to be a beautiful woman, and she made a deal with the devil to be young and beautiful forever. And the devil gave her that. But the like other side of that coin is that he gave her these like devil features. Yeah. So she appears as beautiful, but is actually like a devil. That's one of the two origins.
You think the devil was like, you don't like that? That is beautiful. You look gorgeous. You don't like your hoof foot?
Beautiful.
It's like everybody, that's the true sign of beauty down here. It's like Marilyn Monroe's beauty mark is your hoof foot. It's wild. Humans are so wild. He was trying to do something real nice.
He was trying. So that's one version of the story. And that's the one that was told for much of the 20th century. More recently, though, the other origin story, which has records that go back as far as this other one, has come into more prominence. And this story is the story of a beautiful woman who married a handsome man, and they were incredibly happy until they got married, and she moved in with him and found out that he was not what he seemed.
Yeah.
And it is like a story of like spousal abuse, and he accidentally kills her and buries her out in the forest and tells everyone that she's disappeared. And then her ghost shows up, and he can smell. One of the things that they say about La Diablesse is that if you get close enough to smell her, she smells like fine perfume and the smell of rot.
Yeah, like she put on a bunch of perfume to cover up her decay.
Yeah. And she came back as a ghost and lured him off a cliff and killed him, and
amazing.
Deserved.
Yes.
This story in this iteration of the book, the implication to me seems to be that this is a woman who was violently mistreated by a man. And this is also another one of the kind of ideas of how this comes about. The La Diablesse legend is similar to like La Llorona.
I was just thinking the do you think I'm pretty, like showing up in the wedding dress trying to lure men to cheat on their spouses.
Yeah, very similar. And it's also similar in the sense that it is not it's unclear whether it is one individual or like a thing that happens.
Yeah.
But as far as being like a kind of thing that happens, the idea is that a woman who is killed by her lover will become La Diablesse and will take her vengeance on men. Yeah. Which,
like Rosalie
good for her.
From Twilight.
Yeah, exactly like that. But
this is also, as the whole time, it's very satisfying to hear, but this also feels like a woman wrote this, right?
Yes.
Like, that very clearly feels like women were the ones who created this. Men might have been the one to create this, you know, because it has all the hallmarks of, like, men being like, well, never trust a pretty woman, or, like, you know, they're all out to get you. But, like, this telling is very specifically is so, like, obviously written by a woman.
Yeah.
But this is how it felt. Like, I lived in New York for a little while. When I was, like, 18, I went from living in Missouri with my parents to living in New York by myself. And, like, just the amount of times I was harassed on the street and, like, followed, and I just stopped, like, my whole body just got angry. Like, I told the story on the bonus episode of the person on the bicycle who was making faces at me and then hit a rock in front of me and flipped over, and I laughed and then ran. Because it was funny and I didn't care if he had died. But that's how, like, you just fucking filled with rage.
Yeah.
At every single man who ignores your boundaries, you know, and walking and clearly ignoring somebody and having somebody continue to, like, I had a guy come up to me in Walmart once, and I had headphones in, and he came up and started talking to me, and I ignored him. I could hear him, but I had headphones in, so I was like, maybe he'll just leave me alone. And then he tapped me on the shoulder and then pointed at his ears, like, take out your headphones. So I took out a headphone and I was like, can I help you? And he went, yeah, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I cursed him out in a Walmart in front of some children. Like, I was just, like, filled with rage. Yeah. And so, like, this feels so cathartic because that's how people feel. Yeah. That's just how people feel after being harassed, you know, for, like, long enough. Just filled with rage. You just want to fucking push people off cliffs. I stand by what I said.
Sort of the story does not advocate any crimes.
We don't advocate
crimes,
them. But we do love La Diablesse.
Yes. So that's kind of the story that has become more prominent in the late 20th and early 21st century as an origin, is that this figure has been sort of reclaimed as a figure of, like, women's anger.
Yeah. I love her.
Good. Her wide-brimmed hat, in some depictions, she, like, has the illusion of a beautiful woman, but in fact, like, her face is the face of a corpse.
Yeah.
In other versions, she always looks like a corpse, but her wide-brimmed hat, like, conceals her face.
She's a real butterface.
No.
She is. Her body's great, but her face is that of a corpse cursed by the devil.
And she always has this one hoof. And in some depictions, she has this like very, very long skirt that touches the ground. And it has like a long slit that goes like all the way up to the thigh on one side. So you can see her beautiful lady leg. And everyone's like, wow, what a leg.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it distracts them from the hoof print that she leaves behind her.
It's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Weaponizing sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. In some versions, when she walks along the road, she walks with her one human foot on the road and then her one cow foot on the grass beside the road.
Mm-hmm.
So she sort of walks like straddling the side of the road.
Yeah.
Her deal is that she lures men into the forest, she gets them lost, and then she disappears and leaves them to their doom in many cases, where like she brings them out there and like something, it almost sounds like a pheromone effect of like she brings them out there like and then they are out there in the middle of the night and they kind of go crazy trying to find her, and without fail they will like fall into a ravine or off a cliff, or they'll be like attacked by wild dogs or something like that. So it's kind of like a weird like will-o'-the-wisp thing as well, which I'm into. The only way to break the spell of La Diablesse is to turn your clothing inside out and then walk backwards back to your house.
So it looks like you're still following her?
I didn't find any explanations for it, but they said that if you are enchanted by La Diablesse, that is the only way to... Usually it would be if someone catches you being enchanted by La Diablesse, then they would help you to do that, because it's really hard to realize that you are under this spell until it's too late. Yeah. La Diablesse was also discussed. We have longtime folklore boy Lafcadio O'Hearn.
Yeah.
He has a book called 2 Years in the French West Indies, which is an account of his folkloric experiences in the Caribbean. And he has a whole chapter devoted to La Diablesse.
Cool.
In true wife guy. The free text of that is available online, and I have it linked in the show notes here. But that was part of the how the rest of the world found out about this story. And it's become more of a thing, which I think is pretty cool. I also like that Lafcadio O'Hearn likes one thing. Yeah. And it's every culture's kind of yokai. Yes. He like goes around the world and finds like that thing everywhere.
That's his thing.
And I love it.
And he really likes cool ladies.
And he loves cool ladies.
He loves cool ladies. Some of them hand you heavy babies. Some of them lead you into the woods to die.
Whatever.
Lafcadio O'Hearn.
There is a book series called The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste, which came up as it is a collection of stories about like Caribbean folklore, like a fiction series, a novel series. And La Diablesse appears as a character in that. Cool. Which I think it looks pretty cool. I might read it. The last kind of thing here is that there is something weird about La Diablesse. There are stories about... There are some men who are immune, who immediately see her for what she is, or they just are not affected by whatever she does, right? And
gay men. And
that was also my thought. But there is a story of like when she was first transformed by the devil into this beautiful woman, she like went to a party and almost all of the men like turned and like came towards her and were like falling all over themselves to try and talk to her. Yeah. And her thought was, why only almost all? And so she went to the men that didn't come to her and they screamed because they saw that she had a corpse face when everyone else kind of perceived this illusion. Yeah. There is one theory that because of, again, this story, you really hit it on the head. There is like a duality of the story as written by men, where it is a woman who wants to be beautiful and then is like becomes a monster and makes it everyone's problem. Yeah. And then there is the version,
the female rage version.
Yeah, exactly. There is the female rage version that is in many cases like based in a story of a woman who is abused and then finally gets an opportunity to hit back.
Yeah, and who also serves as a cautionary tale for these fucking terrible men.
Yeah, it's like the same thing of like, ooh, like can't trust ladies, but at the same time, like women sharing this story being like, yeah, so you better not fuck with me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is kind of the two sides of this story. But the idea of some men who can tell what she is and some men who are just enchanted by her. Mm-hmm. In some stories, the only men who are enchanted by her are men who have inflicted acts of violence against a woman. So men who aren't bad just see her as regular. They aren't affected by her, or they see her as like, you know, something scary.
That's such a bummer that it was like almost all of them then.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God.
It's a fucking nightmare. But I do love the poetic justice of like it, because also in this story, in Wendy Shearer's story, it specifically is like she doesn't go out hunting for men. She just walks around and men follow her. And she has had this happen enough that she knows what happens, basically.
Yeah.
And I do like the kind of like poetic justice of like, she doesn't hurt anyone who hasn't hurt anyone, which I think is...
It reminds me of, and I'm not going to remember the name of that, but the Native American, I don't know what tribe it even is, but you know what, the deer-footed woman?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of, that's just the exact same type of shit, where she has deer feet and she punishes bad men. She just goes around punishing bad men, and if you're not a bad man, then you don't have to fear her.
Yeah.
The same shit. I love it.
This is such a weird thing that I also just made. So like, there's this, there's also, oh, what did I took a screenshot of it. There is a Ghanaian story called Madame Koi Koi, which is a story about a woman who haunts like schools basically, and she wears like one heel, so you can hear her like, you know, you can hear her as she's walking through the halls.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing of like the like clopping sound of hooves. And then you have the huldra in like the Scandinavian areas, which is a woman who has a cow's tail and sometimes hooves and sometimes is hollow in the back, who lures men. Yeah. And then you also have the deer woman, and you have all of these just stories of women who it's like weird similarities in like hugely different parts of the world.
And also a little bit, because I can't remember, I don't know if there's a foot thing in La Ciguanaba, but remember La Ciguanaba is a beautiful woman who is naked in the woods, and if she turns around, you see she has like a horse skeleton on the back of her head. Yeah. She has a horse skull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. I was thinking this earlier about how we're getting close to like October, which is like Inktober, Drawloween. I was thinking we should have a sort of the story prompt list of a bunch of different characters that we have mentioned on this podcast, and we pick 31 of them and we just put it out, and then maybe we do a smaller list of like 5, you know, so it's just like if you want to do the condensed version, you just pick a couple, but Diablesse would be on that list for sure.
She's so fucking cool.
It'd also be a writing challenge. Fucking, I want to see more stories about these people, these creatures showing up. It's cool.
Yeah.
I want to see more poetry about them.
She's so cool.
She's cool.
Anyways.
Anyway, if you guys are interested in that, let us know in the Discord, because that is cool as hell. Max.
Janey.
That might be one of my favorite folkloric creatures, like cryptids, that you have ever brought up.
I love her so much.
Also, new cryptid just dropped.
Woo, ring the alarm. And she's cool as shit.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah.
I love her.
I love a monster mommy.
I want to see a bunch of La Diablesse tattoos coming up. Everybody has made Medusa the symbol of female empowerment. La
Same
Diablesse
thing, though.
Should be. Same thing.
Like, beautiful woman, one animal feature that
turns men into stone.
Yeah.
Punishes the men who are pursuing her. Yeah, well, it also, I mean, the dark truth is that enough women have been victimized, and women, you know, female presenting people have been victimized over the course of human history, that they've invented a bunch of scary monsters to fight off abusers. Yeah. And that's devastating.
It is.
But also, good. Fucking throw that man off a cliff. He deserved it.
Yeah. The superstitious part of me, like, you know how we've talked about like the wee folk, the little people and everything like that, and how they're so consistent across hugely different parts of the world. The weird consistency of like this kind of woman who does this specific kind of thing. Yeah. I'm like, she's real.
She's real.
Get scared.
To me, this one specifically screams that there is a common human experience, and it is violence against women.
Yeah.
You know, and that's upsetting. There's also a lot of, I mean, every culture has a hag story.
Yeah.
That one, to me, feels very real.
Yeah.
Scary and real, and I wish I didn't know about it. All right. That was amazing. Do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
Max, okay. Today I will be telling a story from the book that you are currently holding in your hand. It's called The Complete and Original Norwegian Folktales of Asbjørnsen and Moe, with a foreword by Neil Gaiman.
And translated by Tina Nunnally.
Ooh. You want to describe the cover?
God, it's so pretty. It's like, it's all in these beautiful like teals and like sort of a like pale sea foamy like slate gray. And it's most of it is the sky. And then there is like the horizon of trees in a forest, like an evergreen forest. And coming out from the top of the trees is like a huge figure, probably like a troll, just that you see in silhouette. It's a gorgeous book.
There's a little guy running at the bottom.
There's a little guy running at the bottom. Is that Where's Waldo? I think that's what. Oh my God, the back is even cooler.
Yeah.
The back, it's like a snowscape, and there are all of these like tall creatures, like humanoid, that have like long, shaggy white fur, and they're all just in a big group in this snowscape.
So I wasn't going to talk about this unless it came up, but I'm happy it did. So in Neil Gaiman's foreword, he talks about how, it was hard for him to write a foreword because he's like, every time I tried to write an introduction, I keep failing because I keep going back and rereading and then rereading and then rereading all these stories and getting lost in them. And then I come up for air and I'm like, fuck. I learned nothing that I wanted to learn. But he is talking about like how much he loves Norway. Like he talks about the first time he went to Norway in 1998 and how he just keeps going back because he's like, this is the best place. And also because it's just so full of history and folklore and cool creatures and ghoulies. So he's like, I love it. And he talks about the person who drew these covers, the art. That person's name is Theodore Kittelsen. And he says, Kittelsen was more than an illustrator or a folk artist, but he was not as well known as Arthur Rackham or John Bower. His trolls made sense. They were as much a part of the world as the trees and the hills, which is what you see in this cover. That's the reason why it's like, ooh, because he's literally coming out of the trees. Like he looks like he's part of that. You know? His drawings and paintings felt as though they had paused in their travels for Kittelsen to create their portraits. I learned that Kittelsen was once told that a rival had decided to start painting trolls, and he had been puzzled and upset by this. How can he draw a troll? He asked. He's never seen a troll.
Oh, that's so good.
That's Theodore Kittelsen, the person who illustrated. They used his illustrations for the cover of the book.
That's amazing.
Isn't that adorable?
It also reminds me of the art from Hilda.
Yes.
Which
I think heavily inspired Hilda, right?
Yeah, gotta have. Which, if you guys haven't seen it, Hilda, I believe, is still on Netflix. It is a children's show, kind of. It's a cartoon show, but it's about Norwegian folklore, and it has like all kinds of troll stories. It's about a little girl who like lives out in the middle of nowhere and kind of, as she is adventuring as a little girl, just meets all of these creatures.
Yeah, and she's like, she's very specifically tuned in to these folkloric creatures because she lives in like the woods with her mom, and then she moves to the city. She moves to like Oslo or something, and she's bummed out by it because she's like, I'm gonna leave all my friends behind and all these creatures, and then she learns that there's magic in the city too, and she makes all these friends, and it's adorable. Yeah,
it's a little bit offbeat in a way that I find really fun.
It's also calming.
Check it out.
It is the type of show as well that if you are having a bad day, or if you're going through something, or if you're just like, I need to de-stimulate myself, it's a great show for that.
Yeah,
it has just enough adventure, but there's nothing in it that's like loud flashbang.
Yeah. Okay. And you get used to the accent.
Her little girl accent.
Yeah.
I like it.
I also like it, but it does feel like a lot the first time you watch it. But now it is like a favorite of mine.
So the story I'm going to tell you from this is called The Griffin. And it reminds me more of another story that I know, and I'm pretty sure this is probably what inspired it, but I'm going to just get into it. The Griffin. There once was a king who had 12 daughters. He adored all 12 of his daughters so much, and he worked really hard to make sure that they were always safe and healthy, and he kept his eye on them, and he was just like, I love my kids so much. However, every afternoon, this king would take a nap, a little siesta, if you will. It was very important to him to have his little 2 hours of sleeping in the afternoon, which I appreciate.
Relatable.
Good for you, king. And every time you do this, the princesses would sneak out together and they'd go for a walk, all 12 of them. So one afternoon, while the king was having his little nap, the princesses went out as usual, only they were never seen again. So, realizing they were missing, the king searched far and wide. He even went to kingdoms that weren't his. He, put out notices in every church. He was just please look for my kids. I don't know where they are. Does anybody have any idea? And nobody knew. They had just vanished in thin air. No trace. There was not even rumors or whispers. It was just what the fuck happened? So, I'm immediately going to contradict what I just told you, because there is a rumor. There are whispers, in fact. Who am I? Just the one who read the story. Rumor had it they had been taken inside the mountains, but that's the only rumor I'm going to give you today. Those rumors had spread even faster than the news of their disappearance until it reached the ears of 12 handsome princes.
Oh.
And they were 12...
Wait a minute. 12 princes?
Interesting.
12 months in the year.
What?
12 eggs in a dozen.
It's all connected. It's all connected. We're putting on our tinfoil hats. There's something amiss in this story. And I will figure it out.
Talk about the eggs, you motherfuckers.
Give us the rumors. We know you have them. So these 12 handsome princes were like, there are 12 of them. There are 12 of us. There are 12 eggs in a dozen. It has to be connected. So they asked their father for permission to search for the lost princesses. And their father was reluctant to send all 12 of his sons away because he's like, I'm afraid I'll never see you again. No. But they all fell to their knees and they begged and they cried. They're like, please, Papa, let us go see the princesses. We want to save them. And finally he was like, fine, stop begging and crying. You're all 24 years old. So awkward. And so he gave them a huge ship and he assigned the Red Knight to be their helmsman, for he was a skilled seaman. I left that word in just for you, Max.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
What's the Red Knight?
The Red Knight is a knight who wears red. They don't describe him at all. They say he's good at sailing and his name's the Red Knight. And the king was like, you're in charge.
Oh.
And he was like, you're in charge. It's supposed to be free.
And that's the plot of You're in Town.
So
the Red Knight is actually the writer of You're in Town.
He had a career after this. So they all got
two things
on the boat and they sailed for a long, long time searching for the princesses. And they asked everyone they could if they had any news, but no one ever did. So they just kept sailing and searching. 7 years passed. And the princes were still searching diligently, still on this boat. It sounds miserable. And then one day, a storm blew in, and it was so bad that they thought they would never see land again. And they worked really hard, and for so long, they were all absolutely exhausted. None of them could sleep because it was just very dire. And it went for 3 whole days until finally on day 3 the storm let up and everything went still again and all the men were like, thank God, and they all just conked out. They conked soup right out of there.
They got some conch in their soup.
They got some conch in their soup and they honk shoed all night long. So,
yeah.
All of them were asleep, that is, except for the youngest prince. He was restless and he couldn't sleep, so he stayed up on the deck alone, and he was pacing back and forth on the deck of the ship, and then he noticed that they had come upon a small island, and on the shore of the island was a little dog. And it was running back and forth, and it was barking and whining at the ship in the water like it was begging to come on board. Like, save me, bark, 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 bark. And it's just tiny and cute, and he's like, he's looking at it, everybody else is asleep, and he's just gripping the side of the ship like, oh no, puppy. Oh no.
I'm picturing a Pomeranian.
I was also picturing a Pomeranian.
That has been running in and out of the shallow part of the waves trying to get to the ship. So his like fur on his stomach and legs is all wet, and it does that thing that Pomeranian fur does where it's like super puffy when it's dry.
Yeah.
But then it's got little stick legs underneath.
That's exactly it. And it's like barking like, save me. So the prince immediately is like, oh no, I wish I could save that dog. And he's just like pining after this little dog. And then he starts making up stories in his head where he's like, I bet it was on a ship, because that's not an island dog. That's a pet dog. I bet it was on a ship that sank and it's probably the only survivor, and now it's going to starve to death on this island. I gotta save it. And he's just like devastated. However, in order to go save that dog, he would have to put the rowboat in the water, and he doesn't know if he can do that by himself. He's never done it by himself before.
Wake your brothers up.
Well, then he's like, it says specifically, he didn't want to go wake his brothers up to save a tiny dog on an island because he thought they'd be mad at him. So he's just like,
what the fuck kind of monsters are your brothers that they would see a tiny dog on an island and be like, fuck you, I was sleeping.
Well, they had all almost died for 3 whole days. And so like they could kind of earn the sleep, but also he's like, fuck. Oh no. Oh no. And so then it says, quote, the weather was now clear and calm, and the prince thought to himself, you could go ashore and save that dog. End quote. He's like, you could just do it.
But like if
he's never done it before, but he's like, I'm gonna try. Like he's like, I'm willing to put my life at risk to go save that puppy.
No, is the ship still sailing?
No. Well,
or is it anchored?
I don't know how ships work, so who knows?
It's kind of one or the other.
I'm gonna guess they were anchored just so that they could rest, all of them. You know, like they wouldn't want to sail while they were all asleep.
Is the Red Knight asleep?
Yes, they're all asleep. Like everybody passed.
So they're
the hell
probably
out.
anchored.
Yeah,
but also like,
but I also don't know if they saw an island. Like they literally just like we stopped like dying. Awesome. So they probably did drop an anchor.
Yeah. So like, because I was worried that they were still sailing, and I was like, okay, so you're going to get in your rowboat, you're going to go to the island, and you're not going to be able to catch up with them. But if they're anchored there, then just like,
you could just try.
Yeah, but also like you could just like,
hang
out until morning, or
wake
someone up and then let them sleep more after, or there are lots of things you could do.
Well, he's thinking in the moment. So he's like, I'm going to go and save that dog. And so he goes to the rowboat and he like puts it in the water and he's like, oh, that was way easier than I thought it would be. Maybe everyone's been lying to me so I won't fuck with the rowboat. He's like, what the hell? Why was that so easy? They all told me I couldn't do that. And so he rowed to shore and he like got out of the boat and he's like, come here, puppy, come here. And he like started calling and whistling to it. But every time he got close to the dog, it would jump out of reach and then keep barking and whining. And like, he's like, well, what the hell? And so he just followed it deeper and deeper into this island like forest. And suddenly he realized that he had entered like the gates of like a castle, and he starts looking around like, what the hell? Where am I? And then he follows the dog further because it's still like barking at him, and now it's run into the castle. And so he like tiptoes his way in and he's like, hello, come here, puppy. Get out of this house. This isn't yours. Maybe it is. Maybe. As soon as he got inside the castle, the dog turned into a lovely princess.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was hoping... I was like, what if that is the dog's castle? And then I was like, what if it's like a Beauty and the Beast situation and the dog is actually a prince who's been cursed to be a Pomeranian?
The dog is actually a beast.
Cursed to be a Pomeranian. I love and then I got weirdly emotional about the idea of just like boys being friends and saving each other from curses.
And then kissing.
Maybe.
Giving each
Who
other
knows?
Wet, sloppy kisses. So he got into the castle, the dog turns into a lovely princess, and she just like walks over to this bench where this giant fucking man troll thing is sitting, and she like sits down primly next to him. And the man was, quote, so big and ugly that the prince was truly frightened, end quote.
For real, though.
Yeah. The man was like, no, don't be afraid. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. And his voice was so awful that the prince is like even more afraid. And the man's like, I don't know how to help you. But the man's like, listen, I know that you're looking for the 12 princesses, and I know where they are and how to save them. And he says, quote, they are with my master. There they sit, each on a golden chair, each of them picking the lice from one of his heads, for he has 12 of them. End quote. Gross.
That's a lot of heads.
Yeah, and a lot of lice. So the man told him that they had been sailing for 7 years, but it would take 7 more until they found the girls. So I don't know how old this prince was when they started. He seems fairly young, But they have been sailing for 7 years. So he could be like 21 years old right now, you know, which is possible. I don't know if they would have taken a 7-year-old kid, like a little kid with them. But I have no idea how old they are. But a lot of time is going to go past. So he's like, it's going to take you 7 more until you find these princesses. And he's like, you could stay here. You could marry my daughter. She's beautiful. And she knows so many tricks.
And then he takes out a little dog treat and he like puts it on the tip of her nose and he's like, wait. And she just like looks at it
and shakes.
And then he's like, all right, go. And she like flips it up and eats it.
Yeah. And like grins so big because she's proud of herself.
Wiggles her butt.
Yeah. And he's like,
Pretty good, huh? Wife material.
Classic wife. He says, in return, though, he's like, you can't just have my daughter. He's like, in return, you have to go kill my master. He says, quote, for he treats us harshly, and we have grown tired of that.
Oh.
Fair. When his master was dead, he would become the king in his place. And he's like, and then I can give you, anything you ask for. But before he could strike an official deal, the man told the prince to prove he could wield a sword. So he instructed him to go pick up a rusty old sword that was hanging from the wall. And the prince was like, sure. And then he goes to get it and then can't even fucking get it off the wall. It's really heavy. And he's like, embarrassing. I was afraid I couldn't row a boat earlier, so I don't know why I thought that this would be easy. Then the man said, oh, take a swig from this flask. And then he hands him a flask. And as soon as he did, he found he could lift the sword. And then he took a second swig, and he found that he could easily swing it around as if it were a baguette. Which is something I wrote in my notes.
You know how you do.
I swing around a baguette. I think that was like the lightest thing I could think of. You would be able to swing like a sword.
Sure.
Wrapping paper tube would have also worked.
Pool noodle.
Pool noodle would have worked. Baguette is definitely the best. So the troll told the prince that he would have to take the sword with him back to his ship, but he instructed him to hide it carefully in his bunk so that the Red Knight wouldn't be able to see it. Because the Red Knight would not be able to wield such a sword, of course. He hadn't had the magic strong juice. But he would be terribly jealous if he saw that the young prince had it, and then he would kill him. And the young prince is like, oh, is he not my friend?
We've been together for like 7 years.
What a terrible way to find this out.
He's the closest thing I have to a father figure.
I love him. So the man was like, in 3 days short of 7 more years, terrible weather would bring another storm, just as it had 3 days before now. After it passed, they would all get very sleepy, just as they had happened today.
You're having a real hard time with conjugation today, huh?
I can't do it! After it passed, they would all get very sleepy, just as had happened today. At that point, when everyone was asleep, he was to take the sword and row ashore to the island they came to. He would come to a castle protected by all sorts of guards, like wolves and bears.
And Pomeranians.
And ferocious little chihuahuas. But as soon as he approached, they would all fall fast asleep at his feet. So, don't worry about that. He said then he should run into the castle, and he would see the troll's master sitting in a bejeweled chamber, and the 12 princesses would be sitting on their golden chairs and be picking the lice from one of his 12 heads. And he says, quote, and that is not work they enjoy, let me tell you, end quote. He would have to hurry and chop off the heads, because if one of them woke up while he was doing this and saw him, quote, he will swallow you alive, end quote. So the stakes are pretty high. We got lice, we got swallowed alive, we got Pomeranians. After getting his instructions...
We don't got lice, to be clear.
We have 12 heads and lice Max. This is how I tell you. After getting his instructions from the troll, the prince returned to his ship, and he did as he was told. He hid the sword, he made sure that the Red Knight could never find it, and then the wind began to pick up again, so he went and woke up his brothers, and they hadn't even noticed that he had been gone. So 7 years pass, and they're still sailing, and he keeps the secret, right? And then one day, everything began to happen just as the troll said. A huge storm picked up, and it was terrible for 3 days, and nobody was able to sleep again while they weathered the storm on the sea, and after 3 days, they all finally got to pass out, exhausted. But the little prince, I guess he's not little anymore, it's been 14 years.
The regular-sized prince.
The regular-sized Rudy. grabbed his sword from his bunk, and he rowed ashore. And there he found the castle, and the guards all fell asleep at his feet as he entered, just as he had been told they would. So he entered the bejeweled chamber, and he saw the big troll master was sitting asleep, and the 12 princesses were picking the lice from each of the heads. And when they saw him, they were all like, huh? Like, they all start to, like, mime, like, they're, like, pointing at the troll, and then they're pointing at him, and then pointing at the door. They're like, go away. And then they're, like, making the little, like, slash across the throat gesture, like, and then, like, making big, like...
Chomp hands.
Chomp hands, like, he's gonna eat, and then pointing, you. But he watches them do this for a second, and then he points at his big sword. And then he points at all the heads, and then he, like... slashes the sword in the air a little bit, and then he points at them, and he points at the door, and they were like, oh, he's here to rescue us. So they all get up, they walk towards the door.
And they all go, okay. Do the okay sign.
So that one's done. One by one, he goes and he chops off the Troll King's heads as quickly as he can. And after killing the troll, he rowed back to the ship. He left the girls there. He rowed back in his... Well, because he has a little rowboat. He rows back to the ship and he hid the sword again. Then he woke up his brothers and he's like, hey, you need to stop being asleep. While you were sleeping, I found the princesses and I killed the troll that kidnapped them, and now I'm a hero. And they were all like, yeah, you were probably... just in a really deep sleep. I think you had a dream, buddy. You know, I had a dream that I had 17 toes. And they were on my arm. And he's like, that's not what's happening. And don't tell me your dreams anymore, Charles.
He's Charles, like, you got weird foot stuff, man.
He's like, it was real. And so he convinces them to go ashore with him. But they're still, like, laughing at him, right? Mm-hmm. But then they saw the, quote, torrent of blood.
The what?
The torrent of blood that had come from the slaughter. It was just filling up that fucking chamber because he had cut off 12 giant heads. So, like, you know, of course he enters a blood chamber. It's a real blood room. Yeah. And they see the princesses and they realize, like, oh shit, he was telling the truth. And so they help him throw the heads and the body into the sea, like hide the evidence. I don't know why they have to do that, but they do.
And then they mop up all the blood. Yeah.
And then they all make a pact. This never happened. And then the plot of the movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, happens, but with a giant 12-headed troll king. Mm-hmm. It says, quote, everyone was happy, yet none was happier than the princesses, who no longer had to sit and pick lice off the troll all day long. End quote.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So they took as much gold and jewels as the ship could hold, and then they went aboard their ship with the 12 princesses. And after they had sailed a good distance away, the princesses realized all at once that they had forgotten their golden crowns, which were kept in a cupboard. And they were very upset by this. They were like, we need our crowns. Oh no, we can't lose those. Those are very important. They're heirlooms. But no one is like volunteering to go back for them. And they're all just kind of like awkwardly staring at each other on the ship. And finally the young prince is like, I mean, I guess I could go. I've already done a bunch of traveling, so, like, what's one more time, I guess?
And they're all like, no, you don't have to.
You don't have to do that.
But,
thank you.
I mean, if you want to.
Oh, great. They're in a cupboard. So he tells them, like, hey, just take down the sails, wait for me to return, and I'll be back as soon as I can. But as soon as he gets down, like, he's rowing away, as soon as he's out of sight, the Red Knight finally speaks up. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
So he has been eyeing the youngest princess like a real fucking creep. Ew. And he's like, I want to be the one to claim her as a reward. And he knew that this youngest prince really liked her and that they were the same age, so it made sense. So he told, what?
12 princes.
Yeah.
12 princesses.
Yeah, they're just going...
And this guy thinks he gets a bride?
Yeah.
How does that math work
now
out?
He's gotten rid of the youngest prince.
I just mean, like...
I know. Yeah.
What a shit ass.
He is. So, blah, blah, blah. So
blah, blah, blah.
He told the others that the prince would probably never come back. Like, he has just started rowing, and he's like, he's probably lost to the sea. And they're like, I can still kind of see the top of his head. And he's like, no, he'll never come back. And they're like, we've been here for 30 minutes, dude. Like...
Hey, Jared? Yeah?
You coming back? Yeah, wait for me.
I think he's coming back, man.
No, he's dead for sure. So he's like, we should just sail off without him. We're wasting time. And the others are like, no, what? And then the Red Knight reminds them all that the king gave him authority to sail wherever he liked and that he was in charge. He's the boss, nana boo-boo. And he's like, also, no one can ever tell everyone, no, that's not what he said.
No one can ever tell everyone.
It's not possible. There's not enough of you.
You can maybe tell someone, but not everyone. If you're very good.
There's something wrong with my brain today. I think I might be sick. That might be what's happening.
Yeah.
So he ordered them to tell everyone. I don't know my own, so I gotta get my story straight. Which
Janey,
is it?
just take your time and don't forget to never tell everyone what happened in this story. Just take your time.
I'm gonna tell everyone. Guys, listen
Everybody
up.
can tell someone. You do it, buddy. Tell them.
All right. He ordered them to tell everyone that he had rescued the princesses and that anyone who said otherwise would lose their life.
Oh, to murder.
That does make it seem like they're supposed to tell everyone that anyone who disagrees is gonna die. That's not what happens. He's like, our new story is that I'm the one that did all this and I'm the hero, and if you tell anyone otherwise, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That's what he says.
Yeah.
So no one dared defy him for some reason. They sailed away. There are 12 of them and one of him, and they're like, yes, sir. I guess our dad did make you the boss. No, throw him in the ocean.
Throw him in the ocean.
No, they're like, I guess we have to listen to him. So
No.
they leave. They leave the youngest brother. In the meantime, the youngest prince has rowed ashore, and he retrieved the cupboard with the golden crayons.
He packed up the cupboard, put it on his little rowboat. All the crayons are in there. They got all the colors. They got green apple. They got sour apple. They got Granny Smith apple.
Cannot.
They
Also,
got
how
Tickle
come-
Me Pink.
How come most of your colors are just different types of apples?
And they're all green.
You should release your own line of crayons.
Green apple, sour apple, Granny Smith apple, and Tickle Me Pink. And that's all the colors.
There are certain words that I have worked my whole life to stop mispronouncing because my mother learned how to speak from her mother who taught herself English. And so there's a lot of words that I just don't pronounce correctly because of this like weird second, third generation poor English. One of them being the word crayon as crown. I try really hard not to say crown, and I just saw the word crown like that you put on your head, and my brain did an old switcheroo. That's what happened. The word sword, I want to call it sword so bad every time. And also I say salmon. That's not it. Anyway, my mom says all that, and so I have to work really hard not to say that. And it came back to bite me today.
Ow. Mine is bosom.
What do you call it?
Bosom.
Why do you call it? Because who uses the word bosom?
Whenever I read it, it's spelled bosom.
Max is reading all those bosom books.
Yep.
Max and I are bosom buddies. Okay. In the meantime, the youngest prince had rowed ashore and retrieved the cupboard with the golden crowns. But as he was rowing back with the treasures, he saw that the ship was gone, and he realized what must have happened. And so he has no other option. He just has to turn back and row back to shore. And then he has to go back to the castle where there's just a room filled with blood where he knows that he's murdered someone, and there's a bunch of sleeping wolves and bears everywhere. And he's like, I guess I have to stay the night in this scary fucking castle. And I will probably get lice.
It's pretty optimistic to be like, I will have to spend the night here, and not like, I guess I live here now.
Right?
Time to redecorate.
Time to clean up all the blood. So he was terrified to stay in the castle at night, but he had no other choice. He locked all the doors, and he lied down in a room where a bed had already been made up. And as he it got darker and darker, and he got more and more fearful and nervous because suddenly the walls and the roof began to creak and groan, quote, as if the whole castle was about to split apart. And then suddenly, something landed on his bed in the dark with a thump. And a moment later, he feels it shift on his bed like it's crawling, and he's like, no, 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 no. And he's just shaking and terrified. And a voice says, don't be afraid. I've come to your aid. I am the Griffin.
Like a tiny little guy?
I don't know. As soon as
I'm picturing something that has the weight of a frog.
Oh, no, it's pretty big.
Oh.
As soon as you wake up in the morning, you must go to the storehouse and get me 4 barrels of rye. That's what I need for my breakfast.
Go to the store,
Or
bring
else
me beer.
I can't do a thing. Num, num, num. I'm a hungry little bird. So he falls asleep, which is wild that he hears something is in his bed talking to him and he just falls asleep. But he's tired. He's sleepy. He had a big day yesterday.
I like to imagine that the Griffin curled up on, like, next to his pillow like a cat.
I like to imagine that too, and I do think that's what happened. When he woke up the next morning, the prince saw that there was a huge bird in his bed. It has a feather in the back of his neck as thick as a medium-sized beam.
One feather?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one really thick feather.
Wait. Is it one, like, only one feather?
Sticking out the back of his neck.
No other feathers?
I think he has other feathers, but that one is, like, noteworthy.
Oh.
So the prince got the 4 barrels of rye for the giant bird, and it feasted happily. Afterwards, it told him to hang the cupboard on one side of his neck, and to take as much on the Griffin's neck, and to take as much gold and silver to counter the weight and hang it on the other side. And then he's like, hop on my back and hold on tight, spider monkey, to the neck feather.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it took off. In no time, it flew near the ship, and the prince was like, I gotta go get that sword. But the Griffin was like, no, leave that for now. He says, the Red Knight won't see us if we're flying up here, but if you go on board, he's gonna kill you. Because he says he wants the youngest princess for himself. And then this fucking bird says, quote, though you needn't worry about her. She places a bare sword blade beside her bed every night.
What?
End quote.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her. So they came back to the island where the troll and his daughter, who could turn into a dog, lived. And there, the young prince was met with a splendid sight. The troll was king now, and he was so grateful to the prince that he couldn't do enough to thank him. He offered the prince his daughter's hand in marriage, and half his kingdom, and half his heart. But the prince had fallen in love with the youngest princess, and he was desperate to go after the ship. He's like, they're in trouble. This Red Knight is like a creep. But the troll was like, you're going to have to wait for them to sail for 7 more years, for that's how long it's going to take them to get home. Meaning this is a 21-year journey.
Wouldn't it be is it not
Remember?
a 28-year journey?
No, 7 times 3.
How did they get...
So they sailed for 7 years. They got to the troll. And then he was like, here's the sword. In 7 more years, you're going to rescue the princess.
Oh, I guess I'm picturing them going in a line, so it's like 14 years to get from one place over to the...
No, this guy specifically
it's
says...
like a triangle.
Yeah, he specifically is like 777.
An equilateral triangle.
Nerd.
Hey, that's just what it is.
Oh, you know what it probably is? It's probably not. It probably is a shorter journey to go back, but they're much heavier now. They have more people, and they filled the ship with jewels. Probably not going as fast. You want to talk about the math more?
If a train leaves...
I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing it.
with carrying a princess who is a Pomeranian sometimes.
Oh, she's
at
not
63 miles per hour.
She doesn't weigh anything. It goes the same speed, maybe faster because of love. Okay. So the prince had fallen in love with the youngest princess, but the troll is like, you're going to have to wait another 7 years. And then he says the same thing the Griffin said. He says, quote, as for that princess, you needn't worry. She places a bare sword blade beside her in bed. And then he says, if you don't believe me, you can go on board when they sail past here and have a look around while you pick up the sword, because I need that back. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I am going to need that back. That's an heirloom. So another storm arose when the ship was sailing past, and the youngest prince snuck on board. Each of the princesses were lying with her respective prince, except for the youngest. She slept alone, with a bare sword blade beside her in bed, and the Red Knight was sleeping on the floor next to her. Grumbly, I imagine.
Good. Also, slay him.
Slay him. Okay, so I am confused by her. This makes it seem like this sword is just, like, next to her. This knight could very easily just take that sword while she's sleeping. It feels like there's a magical quality to it, you know? Like...
Or she's, like, holding it.
I mean, yeah, but still, she's sleeping. Just take the sword. I don't know.
Oh, but then he would have to be like, because I don't want you to have a sword, because I want to...
Attack you.
And
then he would have to be lured onto the ship deck and then thrown off a ship by an angry ghost.
Yeah.
Who knows? So the prince took his sword from under his bunk, and he left, as he had been told to do. But he was restless for the next 7 years. He was just like, I really gotta, like, I really want to be there. And finally, it was time for him to act. You said why?
Why, if the Red Knight is there and he's asleep on the floor and you can get past him,
The troll said not to. They know pretty much everything. I'm guessing that this prince just would not be able to fight this Red Knight, even if he was, like...
Asleep,
yeah.
on the floor, right next to a sword.
So the troll gave him an iron boat that travels on its own. And he said, if you ever need it to go anywhere, just say, boat, get going.
Go on, get.
Go on, get, boat. I don't love you anymore. On the boat, there would be an iron club, which he would need to hold up when the ship appeared. And this would summon intense winds, so bad that no one would even notice him as he approached, because they would be like, oh no, it's windy. And then when he was next to the ship, he would hold up the club again, and a storm would arise that was so bad they wouldn't even think about looking around them for another boat. And then, when he passed the ship, he should hold up the club for a third time. But he was warned to always put the club down again, because if he held it up too long, such bad weather would arise, it would kill all of them, and him, and sink everyone, and they'd all be dead.
And also his arm would be really sore.
Yeah, and buff on one side, and weak on the other. Is that what you want?
It's all about balance.
Yeah. When he got...
Isometrics.
Yeah. When he got to his home shores, he would simply need to say, quote, boat, go back the way you came.
Go on, get.
I don't love you anymore. And the boat would go home. He was given gold and precious things, along with, quote, all the clothing and linen that the troll princess had sewn for him during so many long years.
Aww.
I know. I really like that he was like, I'm not... Do you think they fucked? So, that wasn't on my thoughts until I looked at you, but do you think they fucked?
No.
You
I
think
just
they were
feel really
friends?
bad for Princess Pomeranian.
I feel good for her that she doesn't have to marry him.
It seems like she was kind of excited, though.
Maybe they were friends. Or maybe that's just like her only job at this castle is being a pet and making clothes. Who knows?
That's not a bad gig.
No, it's not. Now he was richer than any of his brothers. So he set off in the boat, and he did everything as he was told. He passed their ship, and he got to his home shores way before they did. And then he unloaded his stuff, and he told the ship to go on get, and then he dressed as a seaman. I tried really hard not to say seaman. And so I said it wrong. Afterwards, he hiked up a hill where an old woman lived like a really modest life in this little shack. And he knocked on the door and he's like, hi, my ship crashed and I'm the only survivor. He just took that dog's fucking story. He's like, bark, bark, whine, whine. Can I please be in there with you? And she's like, no. And he's like,
stop barking.
Please, shelter. And she's like, I barely even have a place for me to sleep in here. Like, this is a really modest lifestyle I live, so no. And he's like, I promise you, all I need is a roof over my head. That's like, that'll do, please. And so eventually she's like, okay, fine. You can take shelter here for a bit. So as soon as he's inside, he, like, moves his stuff in. She's like, that's a lot of furniture. It seems like you're planning on staying a while.
You brought a cupboard?
You have so many clothes. None of them are wet. As soon as he's inside, she starts to ask him all sorts of questions about who he is, where he's from, and whether he had heard any tales of these 12 missing princesses. And the prince told her, like, I have a headache. He's like, I'm reeling from this traumatic event. Please stop pestering me. I can't talk to you right now. I just need to go to sleep. And then he, like, lays down and goes to sleep. The next day, though, like, he wakes up and she's just staring at him and she's like, who are you? Where are you from? Any news about the princesses? And he's like, oh, I can't talk right now. I still have a big headache. Like, please. But then he let slip a few little words. Like, maybe he might know something about the princesses, maybe. But he has a headache. Stop asking him so many questions. And so she immediately leaves. And she's like, fine, go to sleep. And then she leaves and she just starts running around to her friends going, there's a man in my house and he might know about the princesses. And they're all like, what? So immediately everybody rushes to her house and they all just start pestering him with questions. And he's like, stop. I have a headache. Leave me be. But also he says, quote, if the princesses hadn't perished in the fierce storm that had raged, then they would maybe arrive in 14 days' time or maybe even sooner. End quote. And who knows? But please, the headache. Don't ask me any more questions. I don't want to talk about this.
Who is this woman?
She's an old woman that he barged in.
Why is he
So
like
he's
this?
from here. My guess is that she's a huge gossip and he needs gossip to spread.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
That's my guess.
Why is he just making himself this old woman's problem?
I know. So he says, I can't say if they're alive. They might be dead. Dead, I tell you, as dead as my head, because it's hurting so bad. And they're like, okay, well, you already told us everything we wanted to know, so goodbye. One of the old women that was there rushed to the palace with this news, and the seaman was immediately summoned by the king to the castle.
Yeah, it was.
The seaman objected.
Oh, no.
Saying he wasn't dressed to see a king. But the messenger the king had sent was like,
it would be unseemly.
The messenger was like, you have to go. And so he went and he told the king the same thing. He's like, they're going to be here in 14 days or less if their ship hasn't sank because it was a really bad storm. And my ship sank.
Is this his dad or their dad?
Their dad.
Okay.
Oh, so he wouldn't know if this old woman is a gossip. He just fucking took a gamble.
He was like, seems like that's a lonely old woman. I bet she likes tea.
So that is wild. So the king was beside himself with joy. He hadn't heard any news of his 12 daughters in 14 years. So when the time came, the king put on all his fine clothes and he went down to the shore and he waited for his daughter's ships.
Aww.
Just this old man. This made me really happy. And so then he saw their ship coming in, and when they started coming off, it was just him crying, like so happy to see his girls. So the reunion was a really happy one. They're all 21 years older now too. Like they're lucky he didn't die.
Yeah.
But no one was happier than this old king. Like he's overjoyed. However, even though the 11 older princesses were really happy and lively, the youngest princess was sulking and sad all the time. She didn't want to marry the Red Knight, but she couldn't tell anyone why. And the king was like, he saved you all. What is wrong with you? Why are you being like this? And she's just like, I can't tell you. But this fucking sucks and I don't want to do this. Because, he had threatened to kill them all. So one day, when the princesses were sewing their wedding clothes, a man came in wearing a big sailor's coat and carrying a peddler's cupboard upon his back. He asked the princesses if they might want to look at some shiny gold things for their wedding, and they were like, interested, yes, show us the gold. They all looked at him kind of strangely, though, because as they were like looking through this cupboard of like these like treasures and stuff, the treasures look really familiar to them, but also they keep looking up at him and being like, why does he look so familiar? Like, what is it? And the youngest princess has been staring at him, and eventually she says, quote, a man who has such costly things must have something that is even more precious, something that would suit us even better. And he says,
smart. That
might well be. And immediately the sisters are like, shut up. Oh my God, shush. Excuse me, you're going to get us all fucking murdered. Like, come on. And so he leaves, and she's just like, yeah, I know who that is. A short time later, he comes back. He's wearing the sailor's big coat, and he's carrying the cupboard with the golden crowns on his back now. And he opens the cupboard for the princesses, and he reveals their crowns. And they're all like, oh my God, that's my crown. They all immediately know which one's theirs, and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the youngest says, quote, I think it's only fair that the one who rescued us should have the award he deserves. That person is not the Red Knight, but this man who has brought back our golden crowns. He was the one who rescued us. At this time, the prince took off his sailor's coat and he revealed a fancy prince's outfit underneath.
He's wearing a prince's coat underneath.
and a doctor's coat. I saw it.
And underneath that, a big old fur coat. His husband is missing, and gosh, he just hopes that nothing happened.
He dies of heat stroke before he can get the hood off. The king had the Red Knight killed. Oh, and then there was true joy at the palace. Each princess married her prince, and news of their wedding spread far and wide. The end.
Felt like it got complicated at the end for no real reason.
They really did rush through an ending. Yeah.
A lot of the things leading up to it also felt a little unnecessary.
Like what?
Like him going to the old lady and like having her start a rumor and then having
Didn't need that in there.
Didn't need that to happen.
No.
None of that needed to happen. He could have just gone in, waited for them to appear, and then been like, I have your crowns.
Like the three, like in the Three Snake Leaves. Remember? God, that was your very first story you ever told. In the three,
you used to told that story.
Sorry, you're right. You're right. One of my first stories, I guess. In the Three Snake Leaves, he gets killed and brought back with the Three Snake Leaves. Then he rushes back and he tells the king everything, and the king just waits and then confronts them with what they had done and then reveals that he's alive. Yeah. They could have done that in this and gotten rid of the Red Knight, but nope.
Yeah, or he could have even been like, hey, princesses, where are your crowns? From the crowd, and they would be like, we had to leave them on the island, but yeah, the youngest prince went back for them and we had to leave him behind or something like that. And then he could be like, here they are, proof that it's me.
We have seen a lot of stories with extremely similar like tropes in them.
Mm-hmm.
Having this guy, like the trope of him coming up with the crowns and proving that he is the one who rescued them is something we've seen before in stories. And this whole story with the 12 princesses that go missing and they're under a mountain is there's a story called like the Sisters in the Blue Mountain or the Princesses in the Blue Mountain or something like that, which is almost identical with like a troll. The 12 heads is different. That's like a whole different thing, but yeah, there's a lot of stories that this reminds me of, but this is the one that Bjornson and Mo specifically went and collected themselves. I only have 2 notes. 1, this story is barely about a griffin. I felt a little betrayed.
The griffin is kind of like the like animated like animal companion who like is wisecracking and isn't the main part of the thing.
No. Why does he get the title of the story? Also, he's not even in half of the story. He's like a fucking blip.
Also, not really described as a griffin. Just described as a big old bird.
They specifically, he says, I'm the griffin. And then they never call him a griffin again. They call him a bird, which makes me think that he lied.
No, my name is Griffin.
I'm Griffin Williamson.
And I'm a big old bird.
Me, a bird with a big old feather in my back. Hold on,
that's
tight,
weirdly upsetting.
Spider monkey.
Have you seen those videos of when they like pin feather videos?
Where they reattach them?
No, like the you know, what's it called? Is it the pin feathers? Where they have like that like what's it called? What's the thing? What's fingernails made of?
Cuticle.
No. Keratin. Yeah, they have like the like keratin shield that grows around the feather, and then it has to be like taken off if it is like gets stuck. That's what it sounds like, and it grosses me out.
It's a stiff, sturdy feather that he can grab onto. This would be, though, calling this the Griffin would be like in the Medusa story is also the Perseus story, right? He goes on this adventure and he kills Medusa. But this would be like calling the story Hermes' shoes. Because Hermes, in the middle of the story, drops in and gives him his shoes, and that's how Perseus flies around to do the action. But, like, that's it. Or just calling it Hermes, because Hermes shows up and gives him a pair of shoes, like, has nothing to do with any of the rest of the story.
Yeah.
My other note is that this is ATU Type 301A, The Quest for Vanished Princesses. And there's a lot under that title.
I have a note.
Okay.
These princesses disappeared, presumably kidnapped by the Troll King. Yes. With his 12 heads.
Yeah.
All of this could have been prevented if he had just, like, better hygiene. Just take a shower, my guy. Like...
Take a shower, my guy. I mean, showering won't actually help with lice.
Get some mayo.
You can literally just suffocate them.
There are lots of things you can do. You don't need to kidnap 12 princesses for 20 years about it.
He disagrees. I also like that they didn't have to be princesses. Like, why kidnap princesses specifically to do this job? Just pay servants to do this job.
I see his thought process, though.
That there are 12 of them?
And he has 12 heads, and there are 12 eggs in a dozen, and 12 months in the
God,
year.
There's 12 princes, and they're gonna come. Oh my god, it's all connected! So yeah, that's the Griffin.
I like it.
I did too.
This also, I've been trying to put my finger on what this reminds me of. I think we've talked about this before, and you said you haven't read any of the Chronicles of Narnia books.
I read one.
The Chronicles of Narnia? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one called The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and it's my favorite. I have a couple of favorites. There are like 6 of them, and I have 4 favorites. So. But it's one of the later ones, and it's like this long, almost like Gulliver's Travels kind of like saga of going to all of these different lands, and they're all on this ship with this like wacky crew, and they keep going to all of these islands that are like enchanted, and sometimes like it's like all this kind of thing of like, oh, you can't get there until it's time for you to get there sort of thing, and like trying to figure out what the deal is on each of these islands and like what it means and how to get back, stuff like that. And that this kind of reminds me of that, of like the long like sea saga, or like the Odyssey. I guess would be a more accessible reference than the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Like the Odyssey, or like Gulliver's Travels, like the like Odyssey.
Sure.
Sea Odyssey.
Yeah.
of like all the different locations, and each of them has like something weird about it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I like that kind of story.
I do too. I don't hate that. I just found out, because again, as you mentioned, I only read one of them, so like, way to call me out. No, I just found out via TikTok that those books end with all of the siblings dying in a train crash and the fucking oldest sister being the only one left alive and just mourning their death and her never going back to fucking Narnia.
No, that's not quite correct. I don't think.
I think it is. I went and checked out I was like, that can't be right.
No,
That
that's
has to
not
be a
quite correct.
thing.
I don't think. If I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
They all die in a train crash.
Yeah.
And at the moment that they are killed in a train crash, of the siblings, the oldest sister has stopped believing in Narnia.
Yeah.
And everyone else still believes. So they are all brought to Narnia for eternal paradise, and she just regular dies and doesn't come with them and is gone forever.
I feel like what everyone said is that she survives. But I did see somebody say that the whole Christian allegory of like accepting Jesus and then turning your back on Jesus so you don't get into heaven, it was like she left and had to stay on earth, which is worse than the allegory of like, no, you just don't go to heaven. It was like, no, her hell was having to stay on earth alive while her siblings went to Narnia.
Yeah, but also her siblings in Narnia, if it does feel bad for them also, of like, they're like, where's our sister? Like, we were with her, and like, also they don't remember for the entirety of the book what happened to them until Aslan's like, here's what happened, you were in a train crash and you died. I think it's been a long time since I read these books, but I think that's what happens. But also like, they're like, where's Susan? And he's like, oh, Susan was bad, she didn't believe, and now she's in hell with all the other sinners.
It's so fucked
but
up.
You guys are here. So fun. Isn't that fun?
Anyway, here's Mr. Tumnus, here to be weirdly sexual. Here we go. And they're like, what?
And he's like, you want to try on my scarf?
Yeah, it's really fucked up. He's like, all the Turkish delights you'd like, my boy. And that one little horrible one is like, I already learned this lesson. Anyway, that was just something wild that I learned that is fucked up.
I just learned about myself that I absolutely have a fantasy of Mr. Tumnus letting me try on his scarf.
You do.
That happened in real time. I was like, ooh, let me try on my scarf. Oh no.
Max, and I say this so kindly and not judgmentally, but your entire being screams, I have a fantasy about Mr. Tumnus letting me try on his scarf. Everything I know about you to be true leads me to that fact.
It's like I've been walking down a long hallway and then suddenly stood in front of a mirror.
And you're wearing Mr. Tumnus'
No,
scarf.
no, it's just like, I wasn't expecting to see myself here.
Mm-hmm.
This was a surprise. And yet,
well,
it looks so soft.
It looks soft, and he seems like he smells fine.
Yeah.
He's a goat. Guys, we're gonna go ahead and go. Max wants to fight me because I called him a goat.
No, I bet he smells like Earl Grey and wood smoke.
I bet he smells like a goat.
He's not a goat!
Everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode and the weirdly sobering end. If you like,
send us an email if you also want to wear Mr. Tumnus' scarf, and or maybe have Mr. Tumnus wear you as a scarf.
Oh my god, Max!
What does that mean?
Wrap me around your face, Mr. Tumnus.
I guess.
We can't be the first one to say that out loud, and so we won't be ashamed.
I might, and I'm not.
Yeah, if you liked this episode, check us out on Instagram and TikTok and Patreon, and join the Discord and talk to us. And what else, Max?
Send us an email.
Send us an email at sortofthestory@gmail.com, and go to our website. It's www.sortofthestory.com to look up lists of our stories and, you know, see all of our
Stuff.
See all of our junk. And we hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah.
And that's it. And the episode is over and you can all go. Goodbye.
I'm gonna go sleep as if I have been in a 3-day long storm
accident.
have very different sleeps. All right. Guys, have a great week. We will see you later. Goodbye.
Bye. I feel like this one's going to be a classic.
You think this episode's going to be a classic?
Yeah.
It might. Mine's a lengthy boy.
Mine's a short boy.
Oh,
But
I
a
like
good boy.
short boys. I like lengthy boys. It is hard not to mention Lizzo. She really went into my brain a lot deeper than I thought she did.
My story today is a real why men great till they gotta be great story.
I'm sad.
I'm also sad.
I want to make Lizzo great again. What was Trump's thing?
Make America
There was like
great.
there was like trickle down economics. There was
That's
like
Reagan.
Reaganomics. There was a New Deal. What was Trump's thing?
Drain the swamp?
It must have been drain the swamp.
Or make America great again.
Here's the thing. Drain the swamp sounds great.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, except that he wasn't actually wanting to drain the swamp.
No, he wanted to do the opposite.
He wanted to overload the swamp with neo-Nazis.
It has multiple layers because, right, on the one hand, it's like, drain the swamp, get all of the old money out of DC and, like, put it back in the hands of the people. Yes. Except that that's not what was happening.
that's
And
not
it
what he
was
wanted
like,
to do.
oh, replace everyone who doesn't agree with me with people who do agree with me.
Which is just a dictatorship.
Which is what that is.
Yeah.
And also, don't drain swamps.
Yeah, and also leave those swamps alone.
And also,
actually.
DC is a literal swamp, and you should leave it alone. Like, it is an ecosystem that we have primarily destroyed as a result of building our government's capital in that area, and it is literally built on a swamp and
I really wish
poorly designed.
I wish that people, as soon as he was like, drain the swamp, I wish the American public had been like, what? Leave that swamp alone.
Protect our swamplands.
I wish like the pushback was primarily about the environment and nobody fucking believed or cared about his fucking weird political things. I wish everyone was just like, I don't think so, terrorist. Leave our swamps alone.
Swamps are some of our most important and biodiverse ecosystems, Mr. Trump.
Yeah. And for somebody who looks like a big old swamp toad, you think you would know that. Boom. Roasted. Fig is back in this room.
She is. She heard that we were...
Speaking of terrorists.